Most people believe they are the thinkers of their own thoughts. But the truth is, thoughts think through them. They rise, flow, and fade, uninvited, uncontrolled. You don't choose your next thought any more than you choose the next wave on the sea. Yet you call those thoughts mine. The mind is a restless machine. It keeps spinning, building stories, replaying the past, predicting the future, never pausing to realize that it has become the master instead of the servant. And when the mind becomes the master, peace quietly slips away. Look around. Everywhere people are running, chasing success, love, approval, money, fame. They build identities around their roles and possessions. I am this, I have that, I achieved this. But underneath all those layers, who are you? Strip away the titles, the history, the name. Who remains? There is a presence, silent, watching, eternal. You felt it before, in moments when everything stood still. Maybe while watching the sky, or listening to rain, or holding the hand of someone you love. For a brief instant, thought stopped, and only awareness remained. That stillness is who you truly are. The mind, however, fears stillness. It survives on movement, on noise, on stories, on endless doing. If silence appears, it feels threatened. That's why so many fear being alone. Not because solitude is painful, but because in silence, the noise of the mind becomes impossible to ignore. You cannot fight your thoughts, nor can you silence them by force. Resistance only feeds them. Instead, you learn to watch. You become the witness, the observer behind the mind. You see anger arise without becoming angry. You notice fear without being afraid. You observe pain without identifying as the sufferer. This is the beginning of true freedom. The world outside may stay the same, but your inner world changes completely. You realize that nothing external, no person, event, or possession has the power to touch the peace that lives within. Most suffering is born not from what happens, but from the story the mind tells about what happens. Something goes wrong. Immediately the mind creates a narrative. This is bad. This shouldn't have happened. My life is ruined. And so pain becomes multiplied through thought. But when you are present, pain is just a sensation. Sharp, soft, brief, or deep, but it passes. It is the mind's commentary that turns pain into suffering. Think of a cloudy sky. The clouds come and go, but the sky remains untouched. Your thoughts are those clouds, constantly moving, ever changing. You are the sky, vast, unbroken, eternal. When you identify with the clouds, life feels chaotic. When you rest as the sky, life feels peaceful, no matter the weather. You don't have to destroy the mind. You just have to remember that you are not it. You are the awareness in which the mind appears and disappears. That realization is enlightenment, not a distant state, but the simple recognition of what you already are. Observe how often you live in time, thinking about what was or what might be. The mind feeds on time. It cannot survive in the now, because now is timeless. It holds no story, no identity. It is just pure being. Whenever you bring attention to the present moment, you are no longer a prisoner of the mind. The chatter may continue, but you are not lost in it. You are awake. You don't need to do the present. You just notice it. The sound of your breath, the weight of your body on the chair, the distant hum of life around you. These simple perceptions pull you out of thought and into awareness. At first, the mind will resist. It will call it boring, unproductive, pointless. It will demand stimulation, scrolling, noise, distraction, because silence threatens its control. But if you stay with the stillness, you'll discover a deeper joy, one that needs nothing to exist. Most people call this joy happiness, but joy often depends on something. Joy doesn't. It's the quiet contentment of simply being, the peace that exists even when nothing goes right. To live in awareness is not to abandon the world, but to engage with it fully without losing yourself in it. You still act, love, work, and dream, but now your actions rise from peace, not from need. You no longer seek completion in others because you've discovered the wholeness within. And then something beautiful happens. You begin to see others differently, not as competitors, strangers, or threats, but as reflections of the same consciousness looking back at you. The illusion of separation slowly fades. What remains is compassion, not as an idea, but as a natural state of being. When you awaken, you begin to see how deeply the ego shapes human life. It hides in every comparison, every judgment, every need to be right. It whispers, "I am this," and in doing so, it separates itself from everything else. The ego thrives on opposition. It cannot exist without others. It wants to win, to control, to prove. And so conflict is born, in families, in nations, and within one's own mind. But when you begin to observe the ego rather than obey it, it starts to lose its grip. You see that the person you thought you were, your story, your past, your name, is only a mask worn by consciousness for a short while. Beneath it, you are the same silent awareness that breathes life into all. This realization is not something you can achieve. It happens naturally when you stop searching.
Because searching implies lack, and what you truly are has never lacked anything. Life unfolds perfectly in its own rhythm. Sometimes it gives, sometimes it takes away. Sometimes it brings joy, sometimes pain. But when you see from awareness, you no longer label events as good or bad. You see them as waves, each rising, cresting, and fading, all part of the same vast ocean of existence. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is life showing me through this?" Every challenge becomes a doorway to awakening if you walk through it consciously. Even suffering, when faced with presence, transforms. It burns away false layers of identity, leaving only what is real. That's why many awaken after great loss or pain, because pain breaks the shell of illusion. It forces you to see what cannot be destroyed. The ego fears endings, death, loss, failure, but to awareness, there are no endings. Everything simply changes form. The flower wilts, but its fragrance lingers in the air. The body fades, but the life within it remains untouched. When you realize this, fear begins to dissolve. You see, the mind lives in duality, right and wrong, success and failure, life and death. Awareness lives in unity, beyond opposites, beyond conflict. When you rest in that awareness, you discover peace that no circumstance can shake. This doesn't mean life becomes dull or empty. In fact, it becomes more alive than ever, because now you see things as they truly are, without the fog of judgment or expectation. A leaf shimmering in sunlight, a child's laughter, the sound of rain. Everything glows with quiet perfection. The ordinary becomes sacred. Pause. Gratitude no longer needs a reason. It flows naturally, like breath. You realize that nothing is missing and nothing was ever yours to begin with. You are simply a witness to the miracle of existence, a wave returning to the ocean, not lost, but home. The more you live in presence, the more your actions flow from love, not fear. You speak less, but every word carries truth. You seek less, but everything finds you in its own time. You no longer chase moments, you live within them. And others feel it too. Your calm becomes their calm. Your silence becomes their mirror. Without trying to change anyone, you begin to change everything around you. This is the quiet power of awakening. It doesn't shout. It doesn't preach. It simply is. People ask, how can I stay present all the time? The answer is simple. You can't, not yet. Even the most conscious mind slips back into thought. But every time you notice that you've drifted away and gently return to awareness, that noticing itself is awakening. Awakening is not a final destination. It's a deepening of awareness, moment by moment. Every time you return to the now, you dissolve a little more of the old self, and the true self shines brighter. So don't seek perfection, seek awareness. Because awareness, not perfection, is freedom.
One day, you will realize that the journey was never about reaching somewhere, but about remembering who you've always been. You were never broken. You were never lost. You were simply asleep, dreaming of separation. Now, you're awake. The mind may still speak, but its voice no longer rules you. You act, but without attachment to the outcome. You love, not to be loved back, but because love itself flows through you. To move through the world with open eyes and a quiet heart. When you live like this, you realize nothing is missing and everything is complete.